Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case. Today we're focusing in on the root, the source of where it originally came from in regard to the theme of Carter Combs' phone being wiped, factory resetted. Whilst it may have been heavily talked about on and off on the Army page to the case discussion groups, then leaking over, of course, onto my channel in the comments section, what was the origins and why? How did it come about in the first place? If it's truly a rumour and it's not been backed up by public surface level type evidence, then where are we really at? What's ultimately going on? So that's what we're going to be focusing in on today. There is a screenshot, credit to Michael Fazkaz for coming across it, consistent all above board, because the username of the comment made and what's being said does mirror like the same attitude, the same profile name as what we've seen last night and what's been mentioned in the past. It's about grouping it together today just to understand, cleaning up and learning as we go along, because as important as it is to use evidence to reinforce things, turn theories, ideas into facts, as important as well as it is to use evidence, counterpoints to debunk rumors, misinformation, disinformation, debunk it, clean it, cleanse it, making it clearer and easier to move forwards, and then you know what's right and what's wrong. It's also important to understand where it came from, who by and why. So then you can possibly prevent it in the future. Or if it does happen again in the future, you'll know how to deal with it better because you know who's at hand and their motives behind it. Could it simply be a mistake, a misunderstanding? Is it done on purpose? Well, in terms of what I'm going to share with you today, it might shock you to an extent. So I do advise you to stick around from start to finish to get the full understanding and context. Welcome to those that are currently here in the live premiere. Share your thoughts, reactions in the live chat box on the right hand side of the screen, and be sure to drop your comments down below under the video and I can look back at them later. If you do want to support this channel, down below pinned message will be some additional links by me, channel membership, and the alternative form, more practical, the PayPal link. If you're simply interested in catching recent coverage by me, you'll be able to find that top right corner where the I symbol is. Click there. You'll get the drop-down menu box with the full playlist, all the links to the videos, and some loose videos as well from recent times to follow on with the themes of what we're getting at. The last video that I did was looking at the supposed rumours, ideas, concepts which have been debunked and cleared up in like a thread page on Reddit, and it was quite interesting, and some snippets of screenshots and photos have been brought along, and one of which is supposedly a family member which was saying certain stuff, and the context of it, we continue on with that. I'll even bring up some of those screenshots once again in today's video if need be, and also refer back to some additional material as well, because I do need to look at the comment section of last night's because there was a bit of activity going on, more comments than usual. So I've got to see what people have had to say, any questions that need answering, anything that I can do, respond back. That's what will be covered in this video. I was going to consider obviously doing a Dylan Rounds video, but I think the way that is, and because of the community, two different communities, I don't want it to overlap negatively with what I'm doing here. So I'm probably better off doing a dedicated Dylan Rounds video tomorrow when I've got more time to focus, and just stick with Noah Presgrove for now. That's just a heads up so you know what to expect tomorrow, just as important as well. So a range of different stuff going on in a short span of time, and we look at it bit by bit. The order of how we'll do things today, I'm just going to jump straight into the latest screenshot. It's not latest as in it's recent, but when it was brought to my attention, at least, of an older screenshot, it's recent for me because I've never seen it before. And with time, I've asked questions about this and that, and where did it come from and who by, and it's not always been made clear. And that's one little observation that I will make as well in regard to the Army page. At times, there may have been references which I've made towards the page about this has been said, that's been mentioned, and others could respond back negatively and say, don't be attacking us. We didn't start it. We didn't create it. We're not all about it. But the way people use their language and wording, and quite often people will say, he said, she said, without actually mentioning the actual names or the initials, without actually giving the source or the context, the provenance of where it came from. So when I see it, it sounds as if the conversations which are coming about and what's being said is starting in this place, on this page or group. And then when they say, nope, we didn't, that's wrong, it's your poor language, it's your poor wording, which then confuses it for outsiders coming on in. That's why most of the time I try and give a reference where it came from or who said it whilst I'm narrating as I'm talking along. Just like with the Reddit page. See, in all fairness, when I was covering that Reddit page and I was reading it off, and like Justin Roy and the screenshot trying to say the transcript was pushing it as in I was saying it myself and I was believing in it, but I wasn't. I was reading what was on a page by other people, and then I said, do you have any evidence, because I'm uncertain myself, or that's at least how you can interpret it. I was uncertain because I wanted evidence and hard proof. See, that's why it's important that I do keep it on screen when I'm reading it, because then you can see who it's from, who's saying it, and where it's from, and sometimes there's a date or a timestamp, a reference to the group where it came from. If I just did a video where I'm sat here all the time, showing my face all the time, without showing any screenshots or anything on screen, and I'll just say, well, he said, and she said, it's equivalent to at times on certain Facebook pages. That's why names need to be mentioned consistently, or initials, both, whatever. It helps. It goes a long way for people in general and outsiders. And this is the thing, what I do different to other people, I'm always treating it as if I'm making a video for the first time, or at least try to, because what's always in the back of my head is, whilst I'm doing these videos on YouTube, new viewers can come along with time, get involved with the case, find my channel at a later point in time, then come back to my older videos. They're not going to know what's going on. So if I speak in certain ways, then people will be able to catch up a lot quicker and be on the right page. So that's why I do it that way too, and like what I've done in the past. With those little disclaimers and just little updates and observations being made, I think we should definitely start the video now and take a look at what's been said. As you see on screen, this is from the original Noah Presgrove Reddit page. Not official, but the original one, which was more known by people, I believe. It's just called Noah Presgrove. What do you guys think of this Facebook comment, whatever that post was? And then a part of the comment thread and responses, obviously the key one highlighted there. First of all, Anon says, has this deletion been confirmed or simply speculation? Furry wet mound hole. Very interesting. Repetitive speculation turned misinformation. And then we've got professional feed. And, there is actually a little tag handle underneath, like a title, what you can have. And that's what's applied on Reddit through different pages and how moderators go about stuff. And now on the original Noah Presgrove Reddit page, they had like flares, like titles, what people can go by, a verified expert, a family member, specific titles like that, professional, pathologist, authority, whatever it was available. But you'd have to go through a process to confirm it. And as you see here, confirmed, Noah's aunt. Now, whilst it doesn't mention the exact, real name of the aunt, and whilst Noah may have more than one aunt out there, who's been the most vocal out of the aunts, it would be Robin Smith. This is supposedly Robin Smith. And, in the past when they were more active on Reddit, granted, maybe not so much now, if not at all, because people have said that on this particular Reddit page of Noah Presgrove, they removed, blocked or banned Noah Presgrove's family from it. I mean, if that's really true, how incompetent can you get? Why the hell would you do that? It's weird, isn't it? 9 months ago. So maybe this screenshot was taken a bit more recently, possibly. Nevertheless, it's an old one. And sometimes old screenshots considered old news is actually more fresher around the time of the case. So there might be more truth behind it. It depends how you look at it. But let's read it right now, because I know some of you may have already done that. But let me give you my reaction. Noah's aunt, Robin Smith, supposedly says, I don't know. I think the OHP investigator telling us that these kids had deleted everything from their phones isn't really speculation, is it? They told us that Carter Combs had wiped her phone so much that she didn't even have her boyfriend's Jack Newton's number saved. I mean, look, honestly, if you're reading this for the very first time and it's confirmed that this is the Robin Smith and Noah Presgrove family in contact with police, and police have told Robin this, then what Robin says here, relaying it, should be the truth. But of course, along with the debunking thread in recent time on the alternative Reddit page of saying, no, Carter Combs' phone wasn't wiped, there's been a misunderstanding. Well, then it wouldn't be Robin's fault. It wouldn't be Noah's aunt's fault if the police told her that. See, this is what I mean. There's a bit of a chain, kind of like a chain of command. Of course, you've got the authority at the top that will gather the information and learn as they go along and interview different people. And then the victim's family that then hears about some of it from police and then possibly releases it to the general public. That's kind of like the order, how it's gone here. But if there was a misunderstanding, how could you misunderstand it? And who misunderstood it in the first place? Did Robin Smith misunderstand what OHP was telling her about the phone of Carter Combs and other kids as well? Or is it the police themselves, OHP, that may have misunderstood, misinterpreted the context or the lack of it in regard to why the likes of Carter's phone appeared to be wiped, appeared to have missing phone numbers because of having a new phone and not having enough time to import all the previous contacts, numbers, data, photos and more. I guess it depends how you look at it. See, of course, if the police are telling us this, we should probably listen to them, or you would hope to listen to them. But this is Robin Smith talking on behalf of what police have said. So you take that with a level of caution, of course, exactly the same way as like when Jack Newton said, well, Zachary Wright told me that he thinks Noah may have fallen out of a vehicle. Yes, Jack may have heard that from Zachary, but we have not heard it from the horse's mouth. Just like how what Robin says here, we've not heard it from the police's horse's mouth. And you want to hear it directly from the originals. But as a form of context for how it came about on the surface level, I guess that would apply to Robin Smith. And then people on Reddit that see this comment then talk about it elsewhere. Then maybe screenshots are taken and used on Facebook and different pages, even those Facebook pages that then call me out for just using screenshots only, but they themselves rely on it too, so they're a hypocrite and have no position to be talking, is that's how it starts spreading like wildfire. But along the way, what do people do? They nod their heads and instantly believe in it. Oh, well, what Robin Smith says here about, the police and Carter Combs wiping her phone and that kids have deleted everything from their phones must be complete truth and fact. So we'll go along with it. But what we will do, which is most detrimental, is that we'll keep bringing these details up as facts, but we won't actually mention who said it or who made it public or where it actually came from. See, look, this is me being honest. When it came to Justin Roy and other people kept going on and on and on about factory reset, phones being deleted, data. And I'm like, okay, but how do we know this? Right? This is the first time this screenshot, what I'm seeing for, first time round. So this is all raw and new to me, but it's helpful. But in terms of all those times in the past, all those months passing by and not a single person then could give me an answer in regard to where did it come from about the claims or the statements, the horse's mouth, or who passed it on and why. All people were saying was, well, phones have been factory reset. Yes, but why? How? How do you know? I started interpreting it as, oh, maybe Justin Roy knows because of his family that was down at the party and may have witnessed Carter or some other people deleting stuff from their phones. And then they passed it on to Justin. But from the looks of it, it came from police passing it down to Noah's aunt, and then Noah's aunt passing it down to the general public. So that at least explains where it came from, roughly speaking, and then how it did spread like wildfire. And as soon as it becomes spread like wildfire, that's when people get lazy, reckless, and don't mention the names, don't mention Robin's name, don't mention the police. Just says he said, she said, or just very vague wording it as a fact without any reference to where it came from. That in itself causes blockages, barriers, maybe some misunderstandings too. Anything else down below? Mikey, okay, now this is something I've been asking and never could get an answer to, so police did tell you Carter Combs wiped her phone, and then it doesn't show the rest of the conversations there. But, you know, this is better than nothing, right? Just get a little bit more context behind it, but we can compare, contrast with some other stuff like what we saw previously. Don't know why it's, you know, zoomed in or zoomed out. Probably just keep it as it is. I can zoom in afterwards. Carter Combs' family member, wherever this was posted, Carter's phone purchased 2 weeks before Noah died, so it was a new phone and not wiped. When you get a brand new phone, you know, it's like factory reset, not literally factory resetting it, but it's the equivalent. When you get a brand new phone, you got to set up the language, the time, import contacts, import apps if you choose to. If you don't have the time, you can always skip it. But then if you want to do it at a later point, then you've got to factory reset your phone to go through the process, specifically on Apple. Okay, that's just from my experience myself. But even when you factory reset your phone, yeah, you lose your photos. If you've not got them backed up, you lose your music. You will lose the contacts, but you can always get them back, I believe, if you've got the SIM card. You'll lose the apps. You'll lose the social media apps that you had on your device, but you don't lose your social media accounts. People seem to interpret it that if you factory reset your phone and you lose your Facebook, your Instagram, your Snapchat, your TikTok, that the next time when you go on your computer or your tablet device, somebody else's device, and then you sign in, oh, I've lost my social media account. A social media account is completely different to an app, which is just an access to it. You remove the access to it, you don't have access to that social media account until you next reinstall the app, or you go onto a different device and access the app or the online version desktop. You don't lose the account of a said social media account. So you're not losing stuff. So if there was anything on Snapchat and the Snapchat stuff wasn't deleted, but phone was factory reset, you wouldn't have lost it anyway. So it's not the end of the world in some regards, but at least how it's mentioned here, on behalf of Carter Combs, a family member, referring to it wasn't wiped, but she didn't have everyone's phone number saved, so investigators thought that was weird. Oh, investigators as in police. They misinterpreted it then. Well, they misinterpreted it then, and then they believed that was the case, it was just wiped, so then they told Robin Smith that. And then Robin Smith is fed possible lies, misunderstandings. So then you could say, ultimately, it will fall back on the police who are at fault. And was it ever cleared up, though? Whilst we can say publicly it may have been debunked, supposedly, like with the context here, was it relayed back to the police? Can anyone answer that? Such as with this Carter Combs family member. Did this individual reach out to police and say, this is the actual situation of what has happened or did happen? I wonder. We'll just read it and finish it off, though. Carter Combs was in an auto accident on the 8th of the 14th, 2023. And her phone was destroyed in that accident on the 8th of the 14th. So she used an old phone of her mom's for a week or so until she went to Wichita and bought a new one. but her phone wasn't wiped clean, and I doubt investigators would tell family that information during an open investigation. Oh, I doubt investigators would tell family that information. What about it? What about it not being wiped clean? Not telling the family about her being in an accident? Is that what you're referring to? Or do you mean more so, I wouldn't expect them to tell the family about the whole wiping, or at least the misunderstanding of that? Because at least from what Robin says here, the investigator, okay, OHP investigator, only one member of authority telling Noah's aunt. And who could that be? Would it be Zachary Wright? Because that name has come up previously before, has it not? Anyway. Investigators did ask Carter Combs, how well did you know Noah? She stated she had met him once briefly in the year. Okay, so that goes on to other stuff. We can always refer back to that part maybe in a different video, but, you know, in regard to what's mentioned here, 7 months ago, why has Ellie not given a press conference? Professional feed, supposedly Robin Smith says, I had actually asked them to release something, some information to try and get the rumours to stop, and that's when they put out the press release stating it's not being investigated as a murder. It didn't help at all. It just created more rumours. And in terms of like an official press statement by police saying it's not being investigated as murder, I saw it with my own eyes. It's on one of the News Nation videos on the YouTube channel. Well, just on YouTube, the News Nation channel. They did a news coverage video about just a case months ago, and it did show like in the background a screenshot, a photo of the official statement saying it's murder is being like ruled out. So yeah. Not being it's ruled out, it's just not being investigated as murder. Probably best wording it as it is. Not investigated as a murder at this moment in time. But if by any means evidence was found along the way or in the future, then it could turn into a murder case. So it's like, it's not completely off the table. That's what needs to be understood. But despite that at the time, Robin says it didn't help at all. It just created more rumours, more problems. So if it's not being investigated as murder and people believe it is murder, and those that are very passionate and invested in on that, when they hear it's not music to their ears. Some may understand, others may get frustrated and then fight back and then think, well, you know what? Officially, they've counted it out for now, but it could change in the future. But maybe right now they're doing it because they're being paid off. And then it goes off down another possible conspiracy route, unfortunately. Professional also says, only one phone, the one Noah bought on Friday, was at the party house. His other phone was located at his nana's house. And then in terms of what we see here, we can actually add on to it. But first, we need to provide the context, because this is from an older video that I did. But in recent time, there's been some interesting comments on my last video. So let's head on over there first, acknowledge that, and then we'll return back to on screen. I've already got it on the newest, but we're going to start from the bottom. And there's a couple of threads too. What do we have first of all? Dark side. They're called I Am on the Dark Side. Ooh, spooky. They say this should be interesting in terms of the video that I did last night. There's plenty that's been debunked and it's just baseless rumours. And to be honest, even if it hasn't been debunked, at times it's obvious that it's a rumour because, you know, it's just not backed up always with hard evidence, right? And that could apply to a lot of stuff, to be honest, unfortunately, in this case. But if you think about it long enough, this has been said, that's been said. Yes, but what about the hard evidence? Where's the screenshots? What about the Mikey Les Snapchat? Caden Pressey has seen it, I guess, when watching my videos, but no reference or acknowledgement, okay? But then outsiders that I've said in the early days, oh, that Snapchat by Mikey, it's been altered with, it's been manipulated, it's a false time, it's not real, it's not genuine. Okay, that's your opinion though. Back it up with a fact to prove what you're saying is true. No one has done that, still to this day. We've got Elijah, welcome. We've got Mark saying to Brooke, I was going to answer on the chat. I don't know what the conclusion is. I'm just saying when everything gets ruled out, that's the only logical conclusion left, whatever that may be. Got Glenn as well, shout out. Jam, thank you for your continued coverage in the pursuit of justice. Noah Presgrove. There will be a spring festival in Comanche, Oklahoma tomorrow, March 22nd, 1 to 8 p.m. Event proceeds go to Noah Presgrove Memorial Scholarship Fund. Does that have anything to do with the cars or something? Carl, physical event all about Noah and fundraising. How? Just cash donations or things being sold? Physical event, I'm not sure if there is an online way to donate or not. Okay, so, well, I guess that's today or so. Larry, that's my big problem. So much BS going around, hard to believe anything, and I do trust Raf and a few others in this group. You trust me, that's good to hear, appreciate that. Shout out to Larry. Eric, to clarify my live chat comment before this case, I did not know that a medical examination post-mortem forensic autopsy could support this autopsy comment. Descendant was alive following the ATV Ranger vehicle incident and returned to the party where he got into an argument with his girlfriend. Yeah, getting into an argument with his girlfriend, which has also been mentioned, re-quoted by News Nation, which I heard this morning in an old video. Noah's girlfriend wasn't there, so why has that been noted down? Or was the girlfriend there? I mean, from the video footage, we've not seen any proof of it. So what the hell's going on there? Skippy. It caught my attention as well. The medical examiner can add relevant information such as indicating activities that the victim was engaged in that could help explain how the injuries occurred and the circumstances that led to death, and of course work with investigators to obtain pertinent data. However, in this case, LE did not consider the party house to be pertinent to Noah's death. They didn't even search it, but they did make reference to it. So there's a level of interest. So why would the ME add the statements about the side-by-side rollover and the argument with his girlfriend, which she was not present, since both these events occurred on the property? If it was that much interest to include it in the report, then it should have been followed up in real life, on site, you could suggest. So yes, I do understand what Skippy is getting at here. I guess ME reports can include information that is not directly relevant to the death. Who knew? But you know, even besides the side-by-side rollover, just the mention of Noah's girlfriend being present at the party is an issue. Because let's say there is video footage to say the side-by-side rollover did happen. Okay, we've got some evidence there, supposedly, and then what's passed on to the ME report, that's consistent. The ME report official documents are supposed to be truthful, are they not? And if they get mixed up, misunderstood, and add in false information about like Noah's girlfriend being at the party house when she wasn't, why is that accepted? You know, everybody goes on about the official documents, the authorities, the autopsy papers, the court documents. It's the be-all and end-all. That's what we're always looking towards because that will set the truth and make it clear. If the official documents can't get certain details even right, then what are you supposed to believe? And I think the reference of Noah's girlfriend being present at the party or not is extremely important and a big turning point. Because if Noah's girlfriend was there, that would be a possible key person of interest in regard to what they saw, what they heard, and it could have been a psychological magnetizing, drawing effect, impactor in which it led to Noah acting in certain ways there. Because you've got to understand, if Noah's girlfriend is there and Noah is also flirting with other girls there whilst drinking, that could have led to its own complications and frustrations. And that argument between Noah and Jack past midnight Saturday going into Sunday morning, regardless of how aggressive it was, if Noah's girlfriend was there, you would have thought Noah's girlfriend may have stepped in, or there might have been added tension. Noah sleeping on the floor with Logan Jernigan. What would Noah's girlfriend think at the time? If Noah's girlfriend was there, she would have seen it. Maybe would have got a bit petty jars. And then what about the bedroom debacle Monday morning onwards when Noah wants to sleep in Logan's room, supposedly, and also Avery Howard's? What about Noah's girlfriend? Why not sleep with her, even if it's on the floor, right? If the girlfriend of Noah's was there, it would seem like she's like a third wheel. And that could have its own implications of complications, frustrations, and arguments. So I think it adds a whole new level, layer, and depth if the girlfriend was at the party. But from what we know of, or what we've heard, or the lack of what's been mentioned as for hard evidence, the girlfriend wasn't there. but the ME report states she was. But the other way of interpreting it could be that they referred to the girlfriend as Avery Howard because Noah wanted to sleep with her. Could be interpreted as, oh, must be in a relationship then. And if they were in the past, people could say, oh, it's the still together or the back together. So it's a relationship and so on. So I can understand how things can cross over, whether they're referring directly to the girlfriend, which was, oh God, do I have to try and say it? Phelan or something. And others pronounced it as Fallon. Great. That's the last what I heard of. As for Avery, birthday girl, completely different person. But there was mentions of Avery and Noah being together at some point. So unless the medical examiner interpreted that as Noah's girlfriend, after the side-by-side rollover, Noah having an argument with his girlfriend, having an argument with Avery, in which there was a bit of an argument, a bit of tension, but that was a bedroom debacle. And that still wouldn't have been after the side-by-side rollover, because from what we've heard, it was the rollover followed by the shower to clean, get rid of the dirt, then supposedly teabagging, then getting some food into the system, and then finally trying to get to sleep, which didn't work out, and then Noah walking off. So they've missed out some details from the looks of it, at least, but still worth highlighting. What else? Calm, wow. I don't remember those comments in the ME autopsy report. Do you remember seeing them? Under the circumstances of death, further investigation revealed that descendant was at the house party drinking September 3rd, 2023, then rode ATV Ranger vehicle with several men, 5 to 6 supposedly, had a rollover incident. Descendant was alive following incident and returned to the party, then got into an argument with his girlfriend. But who's that? The descendant left the party house and was not found until the morning of September 4th, 2023 on the side of the highway. Yeah. See, this is what I mean. In fairness, it's actually worth highlighting it right now. How it's worded here, September 3rd would mean Sunday, as in like Sunday night. He rode in an ATV Ranger vehicle with several men that had a rollover. Well, there was a Ford Ranger which was used with several men, Jack's Ford Ranger, but that's not the one that rolled over. But it did happen September 3rd, Sunday, but kind of like in the afternoon going into the evening when they drove about. And they were like shooting at animals, which involved Caden Pressey, Noah Presgrove, Jack Newton, I guess Brylan, Mikey Isaac, or maybe not Mikey, Isaac, and anyone else in between. And then, from how we've interpreted it in the discussions within the case, it was Monday morning, at some point, the rollover in a different vehicle, side by side. But how it's wording it here, it's a bit different, isn't it? And the day it occurred on, Caden Pressey had told us in his interview, not that he was telling us because it was mentioned in the private police one, so it wasn't meant for us, but we still heard about it, I believe. I believe it was from the police interview. Caden said, from what he was shown at a later point by someone that had the footage, the after effects, the timestamp was 2:40. 2:40 as in Monday morning. That's what we've been like told in a way. That's what Caden Pressey told the police. And yet, in the ME report, it's stating the side-by-side rollover occurred Sunday night, not Monday morning. And obviously, if it's Sunday night, then it kind of either pushes everything back or brings everything forwards by a bit, and it has a knock-on chain effect. Because if the side-by-side rollover happened much earlier on, the day before, into the night, then what happened after that? And what was the time difference and the gap? What else happened? Major questions. This could be a video in itself. Maybe I will at some point. But hopefully people pick up on this. Maybe it can be explained easily, but when reflecting back, it just feels messy. What else? Maybe the intent was to show he had been drinking, but the side-by-side and the girlfriend argument statement seem unnecessary unless those two events could have played a role in the circumstances of his death, and if they had, then they should have been linked to the house and a search. Lisa, really? Let's put to the most insignificant details into the autopsy report. I wonder who spoon-fed those two stupid bits of information, Caleb or Bob? Well, I don't think the side-by-side rollover is stupid information, but the mention of a Ranger and a side-by-side could be the same thing, but we heard about a Ford Ranger, as in from Caden's story earlier on in the day, Sunday, and then Monday, from the timestamp what Caden provided of that screenshot footage, what you saw, the rollover, two different events. TJ? I heard about the shredded fingers on News Nation. They're the ones who said shredded fingers. It's weird big news outlets would lie about that or spread misinformation. That's unfortunate if that's the case, AJ. That actually started with some of his family members, Noah Presgrove's family members, who mistook the drying of his fingertips as being shredded, the same as they mistook death discoloration as bruises, contusions. Well, if that's really the case, AJ, do we have any screenshots? Do we have any hard evidence just to support that for the benefit of everyone? TJ, it was his cousin Ashley Chadwick who told News Nation about the shredded fingers. So TJ, do we have like a URL link to the specific News Nation video or a screenshot of what Ashley told News Nation of some sort? It would go a long way. And what? The kid fractured his face, in my opinion, which would have caused significant swelling and bruising, just like when you fracture any other part of your body. You have broken, fracture, many bones, and it always swells and bruises. So why are you trying to suggest the kid wasn't bruised and swollen? You're dumb as hell. And AJ says, clearly you obviously don't know how to accurately read an autopsy, and clearly you failed to realise that, yes, a living person will swell and bruise after fracture injury, but a deceased person does not. And now you're clearly showing you are the one dumb as hell. I mean, I'm going to step in as a clueless narcissist, as some people like to label me. Is the reason to why things don't swell, if there's a fracture of some sort, impacts on a person's body, specifically when they're dead, it doesn't swell because, the body's not alive, so it's not pumping blood about. The body isn't functioning how it should be anymore because it's dead. Is that correct? I'm not an expert. Moving on. Sourwood Honey, thank you for your continued focus. You're welcome. Appreciate you still being here. Gibby, there is no credible information on the Reddit thread. There are problems with several of the things debunked in this list, but Gibby, what's your thoughts on what Robin supposedly had to say about what she was told by police? AJ, what things do you think are the problems with? The list is actually very accurate. And Carl, I think you're right, because one thing about Warlike Wrath, he is very reluctant to say something as fact without a bunch of evidence. That's why in many cases he rightly says supposedly. Careful, Carl, when mentioning positives about me, because I'm sure it'll trigger other people to start ripping into me in other ways. Gibby, there are pictures of Carter and Noah together from some of 2022. And of course, I know what Gibby is referring to here is that if there is supposedly material to say Carter and Noah were together, or at least knew each other in 2022, from that time then till up to the party, they should have known each other fairly well. So if Carter says, I don't really know Noah that well, what's going on there, unless they just didn't hang out much in between. Lisa, when I first discovered Noah's case, one of the first rumours I heard was that Carter and Noah were together, boyfriend, girlfriend, years ago, and that he hurt her pretty bad when he moved on to someone else. So I thought there was this whole dynamic where she was with Jack only to make Noah jealous, yada, yada, yada. He obviously still had the hots for her, but no one has ever confirmed it or denied it. What say you? I've never heard of it in the first place, to be honest. But then again, I guess when I misinterpreted it at the start when covering the case about the whole getting a ride back home, and if Carter supposedly denied Noah a ride home, I did do coverage about that, which I guess was just complete rumour, but I was trying to interpret it in a way such as, well, if you used to be rejected or turned down from having a ride home, did you do something behind their back or piss them off at the party? But that seems to have faded now. AJ, oh God, long comment. It's no more weird for Jack Newton to say one shoe on one shoe off Noah's body than it is for Caden to have said that Noah had on 2 Hey Dude shoes, which Caden did say. Right, yeah, the comparisons. There is documentation that Jack's truck was listed for sale prior to Noah's death. It has been claimed that Noah's mother has his wallet. Robin wasn't at the party, nor did she talk to Noah at the time he walked off. So she doesn't know that he planned to walk 40 plus miles home and didn't simply go take a walk to cool off, calm down. And of course, in my video's map analysis, I've looked at it from both perspectives of walking home, an attempt, and also simply cooling off. And ever since, I've referred more to just cooling off and it being a normal thing, because Caden Pressey said it was as well. And yeah, some people from the army page didn't quite understand. If he planned on returning, that could be why he left his phone, etc. Well, yeah. When going over the autopsy, you missed the part where it stated there was drying of the palmar surfaces of the hands and fingers, which I'm guessing is in regard to misunderstanding of the shredded fingers. Reality is they were simply drying out and shriveled. I mean, not that there is a direct link because I'm not an expert. I know Tim Daniels said Noah's blood was really fresh, the body was fresh, but shriveled as in dried out fingers. Is that just, what's that down to, a link? But anyway, let's just see what people have said in response. It's quite active here at this moment. Dream, you wrote, so she doesn't know that he planned to walk 40 miles home. Did you mean to write, so she knows he didn't plan to walk 40 miles home? It's closed but has a different meaning. I believe the first word in Robin's sentence about him walking off was supposedly infers that she is not stating it as a fact, rather what she has been told. No, I said what I meant. If you watched and listened to the video, Noah's aunt posted about him walking 40 plus miles home and stated she wasn't there and didn't talk to him at the time. She doesn't know that he was walking 40 miles home and not simply just going for a walk and planning to return to the party. Actually, it is something she herself assumed about walking 40 plus miles home and not something she had been told. Wrong again, done politely pointing out the truth to you. A dream, okay, pull your claws back in, simple clarification. Who is you're referring to? Skippy, it appears Noah was found with 2 shoes on though. Not one shoe as Jack mentioned, since your touch report states the descendant was found naked wearing only a pair of shoes on the side of the highway. Perhaps the trauma of seeing Noah may have caused him to misremember, but it's a valid question Ref raises. Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, you can misunderstand, you can misinterpret, forget things, like you give like a date, a time, wrong numbers, slight adjustments, I get that, and greater mistakes can be made too. Not that it applies all the time, this is just a little side point to mention, just to take in consideration only, is that when there's such a great contrast between 2 different things, are you more or less likely to forget and make mistakes through because of trauma or time passing by? You know, the difference between a person wearing a Pink Panther outfit and then another person or the same person being completely naked. There should be a big difference, shouldn't there? Because of the colours that pop compared to being naked. The size, the costume, the material of it should stand out a lot more and be more memorable than just being naked and bland. How could you get it mixed up, or how could you forget something like that? Could that apply to the shoe situation or not? You know, either Noah has a pair of shoes on or he's only got 1 shoe on. What's really going on? I mean, at least from what news reports have said, official autopsy report, medical examiner notes, and other people in the community in case, with the exception of Caden Pressey, supposedly, is that Noah was wearing mismatched shoes. Right? Wearing a pair of shoes. So out of everyone, and as the time passes by, why does Jack then suddenly decide to say, well, actually, Noah had only 1 shoe on? Yeah, you can say Caden Pressey's timeline and the way he stands out against everybody else and how that can be questioned. Well, the same questioning can be applied to Jack as well in regard to the shoe. Just about, I can't say everyone, but quite a few people have said Noah's wearing a pair of shoes or mismatched shoes, and then Jack says only wearing 1 shoe. Why? Why say that? And why say it at a later point? Bit weird, but anyway. Fingers were drying out, shriveled. Why would his fingers be drying out and shriveled? Not unless he was soaking in the bathtub for a while. That's AJ talking out of his ass again. And how would you know what Noah's fingers did or not look like? Oh no, here we go. Clearly, you know little about what happens to a body after death, and clearly you also don't know how to accurately read an autopsy. It's not me talking out of my ass. It's me stating the accurate facts. You're just being too stupid to comprehend the accurate facts. Ooh. Clearly states such in an autopsy, if only you were intelligent enough to comprehend it. I would say in some ways A.J. Williams' attitude and wording is kind of similar to Stevie Howard in the past. Just an observation. AJ, yes, you certainly are wrong again. My point is both Caden and Jack made inaccurate statements about shoes, not just Jack. Yes. Wow, you're showing your absolute stupidity again. Lisa, clearly you need to educate yourself on post-mortem I'm not even going to say that word. Fingertips, instead of coming on here and making a fool, an ass out of yourself because you failed to comprehend that. Yes, after death, when fluid circulation and tissue hydration stop, then the fingers do dry out and shrivel. What's it, Skippy? AJ, it's a big discrepancy between saying he had one shoe on versus two shoes on in regard to a pair compared to mismatched. And I do agree with what Skippy is saying here, because it is a big difference. You know, you see someone's feet, they've got a pair of shoes on, mismatched or not. Clearly, there is a pair of shoes covering each foot. But then another person says, no, actually, there was only one shoe on one of the feet, not the other either. It stands out. It does. Why does Jack want to stand out and appear different to everybody else? And why would Jack go against the official Emmy report? Because the Emmy report came out before the Partners in True Crime interview with Jack Newton. So what's the deal there? Isn't it a bit odd? What else do we have? Jack was at the scene twice and stayed for quite a while, so he had a far better view of Noah to take it in than Caden. I agree with Ralph that Jack's statement was weird, but perhaps he's cleared up his statement with OHP since? Maybe, maybe not. However, if Jack still stands by the one shoe scenario, then someone put the second shoe on Noah before arriving at the Emmy. There's no evidence of that, but the one shoe versus two shoe topic merits questioning. There we go. Skippy, there we go. Sonny, this is what I want for facts. Thanks, Raf. Rumours don't do nothing for me getting all the jokers on the table is how we move forwards. You're welcome. George, the shredded fingers mentioned took on a whole other meaning tangent with some of those in the so-called Coven of Six. So many crazy people in the Coven of Six. I mean, world record crazy. Good thing they sought social media attention because they'll surely get it. So basically, you reject it, right? I didn't see that in the Emmy autopsy report. There was nothing in the Emmy autopsy report to include shredded fingers. And even at the beginning when I heard about it, I was like, nope, that can't be true because it didn't include it in the autopsy. So I wasn't led astray there, which is a positive. We got Shari. I am pretty sure Noah's grandma said his fingers were shredded. Well, TJ says it was Ashley Chadwick that told News Nation Noah's fingers were shredded, and now we've got Noah's grandma saying supposedly fingers were shredded. So who said what? Who is who, and who is the one? But, you know, if certain Noah Presgrove family members are misinterpreting and misunderstanding the shriveled fingers as shredded fingertips, even though there's a big difference between it, if they can misunderstand that, they could have also misunderstood about Carter Combs' phone and why it came across as being wiped. Maybe, somehow. Or the police misinterpreting it. We've got Strawberry, brilliant video. You're welcome, glad you like it. Popsky popping in. Big shout out to Popsky. Lisa, hi Raf, so happy to see you're talking about the autopsy again. Good to know. We'll get to that in a minute. We got Johnny. Shout out to Johnny. And one day at a time, it's been said, Noah's belongings that were left at the party house were given to L.E. We know Dalen was given the black shorts. Robin had mentioned a while ago, family didn't have any of the other items, and L.E. has the iPhone from the party house. A viewer commented under one of Raf's videos that Casey Smith said, she has the other items, I believe Robin, but this subject has me confused because I don't understand why L.E. didn't give Dalen the remaining items. When it comes to Noah's personal possessions, if they are handed out and passed about from different family members and whatnot, and even if there are any ex-boyfriends too in the background, that's Noah's items, Noah's possessions. Maybe they can be spread out like a memento. But what about the golf clubs, the golf bag? What the hell happened to them? Because they're not Noah's, they're Dalen's. And Dalen deserves to have his property, his possessions handed back to him. So where are they? Yes, but they weren't used as the murder weapon, so it doesn't matter. It was still a part of Noah at the time and at the house. It's a thing of interest to some extent. And if it had disappeared, that just makes it more suspicious than when it was to begin with. So has Dalen Presgrove received his golf clubs and his golf bag back? Or is it still missing? Yes or no? That's the next question, isn't it? We'll see what happens. Now, we've got this person called Travis Dribby, which I don't know if it's like a play on words for Travis Davidson, travesty. But it says joined 9 hours ago. So take this with a level of caution, of course. When accounts are created in a short amount of time, it can be done on the spot. It could be done as an attempt of desperation. It could be anything. You've always got to be careful, but we'll read it out anyway and see what's being said here. First time reading it, taking it in. They say, I live down in this area and I want this information out there. I can tell you for sure that video has been found. But what video? Showing Noah Presgrove being run down with an ATV. Noah strung up, getting beaten, whilst either passed out or already dead, then power washed to remove all the blood. These videos were turned into the police many months ago. These videos were on a computer that was bought second hand, and I'm sure they didn't know they could be retrieved, and it was a total accident that they were retrieved at all. The videos are graphic. I don't know why they ran him down, but it was intentional. Maybe they didn't mean to hurt him as bad as they did, but they beat him afterwards, unsure if he was alive and passed out or dead when they were beating him, but they effing took a power washer to his body whilst they had him strung up like a deer. There was also an adult involved. Okay, well, let's just stop there. To say that there was an adult involved, are you wording it as in like a parent, a guardian, an older family member? Because, you know, there were adults at the party regardless. Noah Presgrove, over the age of 18, Caden Pressey, maybe Jack Newton, Avery Combs, etc. Okay? Anyway, they say, I suppose the police are making a case, but I would think it's clear it's been many months this computer was given to police. So the theme of a computer, more so a laptop. I mean, this is the thing. We've heard of the reference of a laptop. This person's calling it a computer. And I'm not being an awkward bastard, but there's a difference between a computer and a laptop, or at least how I've heard it worded. PC means personal computer. Laptop is a portable electronic device you can move about. A desktop PC, a computer, you can't move around as easily. It's not portable. So if one person says a laptop, another person says a computer, how much truth is there to it if the simple basics can't be consistent with one another? I think it's worth highlighting. As for the power washer, pressure washer, wasn't it said by some people on the dark side or those on behalf or connected through the Combs-Howard family that they don't have a hose pipe or they don't have a power washer on site, maybe? But, you know, any thoughts you want to add on or react to, you can do so. But what I will do now to add on with this theme is what was mentioned in the past by other people. So we're back to here, and this is a part where the conversation started kicking off, and this is in the past, in case you were wondering. I have done a video of this, probably more in depth, talking more. You can always go back onto my channel to find it. Just it's along the lines of a laptop in terms of the title of my video. Shannon Scott, and I could be incorrect, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Shannon Scott friends with Alicia Lee, Kanan's mom? Maybe Shannon Scott was the one that welcomed Alicia into that TikTok one crime at a time live stream with Ashley, Chadwick, Deborah the grandmother Smith, Robin Smith the aunt, and Kaden Pressey and Alicia all together. Shannon Scott here, though, in the past said, "It's obvious Noah was murdered. He didn't do this to himself. The question is who and how many and who all helped cover it up." And Brooke Bounds Carter says, "Can you provide proof since it's so obvious?" And Shannon says, "The proof of being that he is not alive, nor could he do these injuries to himself." Oh my God, that is the worst piece of hard evidence you could provide. Words for words. That's not good enough. It's just not. You know, the extreme injuries to Noah, he couldn't have done it to himself. Basically, you mean he wouldn't have done it because he's not suicidal. Is that what you're getting at? But you can have gruesome, really gory injuries and accidents and fatalities because of an accident. You get too close to an industrial machine. The fabric material in your clothing catches with the roller, and then you get sucked in, you get rolled about, your limbs get snapped and twisted, and you're wrapped around one of those presses of some sort. I've seen examples of that, okay? So extreme outcomes to people, fatalities, can be through an accident, not that they wanted it to happen. It was out of their control. It just happened. A slight mistake made in balance, movement, getting too close to something, not quite looking. Whether that does involve somebody else, another individual too. Another video could be of a worker bending down, picking up some heavy boxes, and then there's a truck nearby, and then there's a person in the back of the truck rolling items off, and they're not quite looking what they're doing, so then they roll off a gas canister. It rolls, then it lands on the ground, or it lands on the person, kills them, or it detonates or hits something else which triggers a detonation. It blows everything up, burns body parts everywhere. Gruesome. Oh, did they do it to themselves? No. Did they want it? No. But was it an accident? Yep. Was somebody else involved? Yep. Was it their fault? Kind of. Did they mean to do it? No. So, you know, there's always that possibility, but Shannon didn't seem to acknowledge that possibility at the time. Brooke responds, "Proof the kids did it." Shannon, "Did I say the kids did it? No, I did not. And for the record, you preach, show me proof, and bitch about others asking proof from your side. I would suggest to anyone, if they have proof, then turn it over to the SBI. I can tell you from experience, they will get right on it." But we don't have any evidence at the time to say it's actual murder. Hard evidence. Great. For Shannon to say, "Did I say the kids did it?" Is that backtracking or just simply defending yourself? I guess Shannon defending herself because she didn't mention anything about the kids being responsible. But then could that mean that Shannon thinks it's not the kids, it could be another person, it could be an adult, not an adult, it could be a fully grown parent, guardian of one of the kids, one of the adults, children. Interesting. Shannon could be just defending herself as well, just to be safe, to avoid any legal issues. Brookmans Carter, "There is no proof. Is my proof? Yes, right, on it. Like those 9 arrest warrants. You were screaming from the rooftop with your buddy that they felt the need to call me and tell me. What happened to those? Wonder why no one's been arrested of those warrants. Sure is a long time to wait and serve them." I was screaming. Oh, okay, hold on. Shannon, "I was not screaming that. More lies. I assure you, no one needs to provide proof to anyone but Ellie." And Brooke says, "Right, your friend Melissa called me to tell me all about the 9 warrants. So again, what happened to them? Yes, you're correct. Y'all lies." Brooke, "Bingo, red flag to Mike." And then I guess maybe this Melissa Williams is the friend to Shannon Scott, but I don't know who's you know, on the right-hand side talking to Melissa. Is that Shannon or is it Brooke? I don't know. Melissa says, I will not send you a message. I will only say a few words. If you wish to call, call away. August 28th, 2024 at 8:31 p.m. And I say 2024, that's an interpretation. It's not going to be 2025 because these screenshots came out before the year 2025. So it's either 2024 or maybe 2023. Well, not maybe. It's probably going to be 2024 because that's where all this stuff's kicked off pretty much. Audio call, 12 minutes long. Did you say Stevie was at Chili's too when his laptop was sold? I don't know what Chili's is. Is that a restaurant? What I was told. Stevie, a laptop being sold, a laptop which supposedly had material hard evidence on of Noah's death, murder. Who did you buy the laptop from that supposedly bought it from Landon? Landon, the boyfriend or husband to Stevie Howard. Melissa responds, he works in the oil field in New Mexico or did. Look, I told you all I'm going to tell you. My information is credible and whatever. And then some other attachment. Here's the information pertaining to a laptop that's been mentioned recently. Please just keep it anonymously. In regard to who said this, I have no clue, I'll be honest with you. As I don't want my name mentioned, I figured you could go about it since it's been mentioned in the discussion group. Publicly, I'm sending the screenshots of which post it's in, and I guess it might be that. So evidently, there is a laptop that Landon and Stevie sold. I would assume that it contains evidence and material since Melissa told Brooke about 9 warrants. That's about all I know and can give. It's what's in the screenshots. Basically, it's just like a summary of what we've seen, but just worded a bit differently. Just, you know, for transparency of being able to see the different points of views. What's this? Someone sent me this information. Ellie has the laptop, rumoured to have information and or video pictures of party events regarding Noah's death. Landon is Stevie's boyfriend. He factory reset the laptop and then sold it. It did still have the evidence on it and vital information regarding Noah's murder. Hopefully that may have rejogged people's memories, and if you've seen it for the very first time, I hope it helps in some way. I just thought it was worth referring back to, considering the mention of Chili's, the mention of a laptop, even though this Travis individual calls it a computer, but the crossover with footage of what's on it. All I would say is, with what that Travis individual says, and I'm sure other people elsewhere and lurking in the background right now, a bit obsessed about me, will probably end up saying, oh yeah, going on about Travis again. No, it's just literally there is a person on YouTube called Travis with a green default profile picture. I'm simply reading the name, that's all I'm doing. But they did create the account earlier today. Creating an account early, quick, on the spot to get the news out, to let people know, but we've already heard about it in the past. So arguably what's been mentioned here is kind of old news. We've already heard about it, but in regard to how much truth behind it, kind of unknown of. So really, it's not like really breaking news, but if it does trigger any reactions at any point, why is that? Why is that? This is what I mean. With time, I've noticed it in past cases, and it can also apply here. Maybe it will at some point. You can mention an event, you can talk about a person. You might not be the one who knows about it in the first place or creates it, but it's been mentioned somewhere, and even publicly, where anyone can access it. But then you just make it more well known, do a video about it, get the awareness going. And then if anybody bites at you or becomes interested, it's like, what's your problem? What's going on here? Are they involved in it as well? Are they getting the toys, the pants in a twist? Depends if they're wearing pants in the first place. I mean, do avocados have pants? No. Do bananas wear pajamas? Not really. So what is going on? Depends how you interpret it. I mean, yeah, okay, if it supposedly has been handed over to police, but someone like this Travis, who's left that comment publicly, if it's so sensitive and so important, and it's, just sensitive information and knowledge, should this individual be sharing it publicly online? Maybe police wouldn't want that. And not saying it's guaranteed, but, you know, sometimes when things are supposedly leaked or revealed which sound too good to be true or too sensitive to actually be true, because the police would obviously hold things back and want people to hold it back, because if you don't, it could harm the case or you could get in trouble yourself by revealing it publicly. But for someone like this to say what they said and do it publicly, maybe because they don't care about the consequences, maybe because there's no consequences, because maybe the police don't have it, or because it doesn't actually exist. It depends how you look at it. The only consistent thing is what this person has said is similar to what has been mentioned at a point in time in the past. That's the one thing there. If we do need to go deeper at it at a later point, there we go. But I think this is the other pattern, theme and trend is at times, you know, I can cover stuff, relay things. And I think it's important to acknowledge right now, before anything else does happen, but also to acknowledge what has previously happened, that if things are covered along the way, I've not created it, I've relayed it and questioned it, and more. I've shown a screenshot of where it comes from, what other people have said, and people lay into me, whether that be attacks, questions, follow-ups, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing putting your time and resources into me when I'm not the originator? I am not the root cause of it. It's over there. It's that person. It's that page. It's where it came from over there. Not here. Over there. With that. Not me. Why are you coming after me? You should be spending more time and focus in getting to the root problem of it, which is elsewhere. Where it stemmed from, where it was created and who said it, to understand their motives behind it. A person simply relaying it or reading it out is the equivalent of maybe somebody in a library or listening to a group of friends or reading a newspaper and you come across it there and then you're the one questioned, the hell? What's that all about? I mean, let's say you've got a person that goes undercover to Area 51, finds out dark secrets, then passes it about in public, publicly viewable, then someone like me comes across it, makes a video about it, showing screenshots, and then the military come after me and interrogate me and kidnap me and silence me, and the men in black flash the pens in my face. And I'm like, why are you doing this all to me? It's publicly available. You can see where it came from. You can see the original person. Why not go after them? Surely you'd be going after the original person because they're the ones who have found it in the first place and to know. And what else do they know? And yet people just don't use their mindsets or common sense correctly. So it's interesting. Anyway, if you did find the video somewhat interesting, you want to hit the thumbs up, share the video, that'd be appreciated. We'll leave it there for now. We can always do a follow-up if need be. My name's Warlight Ref. I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.